Testing, testing.
We're getting ready to. So.
Yeah, he's got to get
Okay,
it.
yeah. So.
I guess we're starting.
All right, so welcome to the Commission's case number 9757, the Commission's technical staff proposal for green product pricing.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Kevin Mosier on behalf of staff. PUA Article 7707D2 requires the Commission hold this annual proceeding to set a price per megawatt hour for electricity marketed as green power. Much like it did last year, staff just has a minor change. Staff recommends the Commission set a maximum price that is based on the most recent 12-month SOS price, along with the Tier 2 ACP of $15. Previously, staff had recommended the Tier 2 price from the previous RPS report. However, given that the difference is just 0.3 cents per kilowatt hour, and it's a much more straightforward calculation, staff recommends that the ACP be used. And with that, we're available for questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? Commissioner Fleischman?
So my assumption is based on what I've seen that OPC is in support of your proposal.
I think technically they were in support of my proposal from last year, so it would be it'd be 0.3 cents different. It'd be as opposed to basically the trailing 12-month plus the full ACP, which is $15 a megawatt hour. It'd be last year's Tier 2 price, which was like $12 to $13 a megawatt hour.
Okay, and what have you heard from the suppliers that would be taking advantage of this offer?
I've heard nothing from any supplier, not about this one, and not about the more specific where a supplier can file for their own individual rate above this cap.
Yeah, that's pretty disappointing. This is what they had wanted. So, okay, thank you.
Commissioner McLean?
Good morning, sir. Just on the $15 alternative compliance payment, how'd you arrive at the $15?
Oh, that's set in statute.
Oh, it's already set?
Yeah.
Oh, good. My apologies.
Oh, no problem.
Commissioner Linton, you got anything?
Well, I guess my first question would be I'd say it's the elephant. Good morning. I'd say it's the elephant in the room, but the elephant's not here. So have you heard anything from the competitive supplier market?
I have not. I'm almost certain none of them have made any filings. And again, you know, I believe we have a form on the website if you wanted to apply for, again, your own separate green power. No one's reached out to me with any questions about that. So it appears there is, from what I can tell, there is just no interest.
Okay. So I know that we're required to do this as part of statute, as you mentioned in your open comment. Does the staff envision this as a concept that is intended to encourage more companies to participate in our market, or is this more of a customer protection initiative?
I think the generic one I view as more of a customer protection because, again, you know, one of the reasons I chose the Tier 2 ACP versus the Tier 1 is based on the information I've seen, a lot of the suppliers that are currently or were in the past, you know, marketing a green product, were buying the cheapest possible RECs available. So the one thing I wouldn't want to do is say the cap is based on, you know, say the solar ACP, which is what I think $55 this year.
Right.
You know, we give them that $55 above the trailing cap, and then they're going out there buying these, you know, $12, $13 Tier 2 RECs. Whereas again, I think, you know, when we try to make it clear at the hearing last year, you know, if staff received a filing for a supplier is like, look, this rate is too low, but our rate based on the RECs we're going to be buying, you know, it would, you know, I think you can go up to 150% of the trailing SOS cap. And I think we try to make clear that, you know, staff would review that as soon as possible. We wouldn't, you know, we try to be as helpful as possible. But yeah, for the generic cap, we want to prevent suppliers from saying, oh, hey, you know, we want that, you know, solar ACP cap, and then we're going to go out and buy a bunch of cheap Tier 2 RECs.
So the utility companies, well, not all of them, but the Exelon utilities also offered an alternative option. And along the lines of what you suggested, they proposed to not use any of it. Why shouldn't the commission, since we're looking at this as a consumer protection, why shouldn't the commission look at what the utilities have offered and say it's simpler, it's, easier to follow?
Yeah, I will say I have no objection to the utilities method. I think staff picked the trailing 12-month because SB1 used that trailing 12-month as its generic cap, so we just kind of use that as a starting point. But I think the utilities recommendation is completely reasonable.
So the utilities don't use the adder that you've
Okay,
incorporated?
well, yeah, I think, let me rephrase that. I think their method for determining the kind of the SOS portion of the cap, I think it's a reasonable method.
Okay.
Now, I will say I would probably add the tier 2 ACP onto that.
But you wouldn't add the adder onto theirs, or would you?
No, I think I would take, in so much as the utilities are saying, I forget exactly how they worded it, but the utility cap that they have is basically, I think, based on, I think essentially the current SOS rates, maybe a little bit forward-looking. I would suggest that if you use the utilities rate for that, you do add you do include an adder, but the adder would be capped at the $15 tier 2
$15.
ACP.
Okay. All right. Well, we may hear from the utilities. I don't know, but I appreciate your comment. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, I'm not for. Okay, all right. So there's nobody here from OPC, right? Oh, actually,
Yeah.
somebody new, huh?
Is this on? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm Pauline Racy's here on behalf of OPC. We had filed comments on October 10th supporting staff's initial recommendation. We do also support staff's updated recommendation to use the alternative compliance payment, the tier 2 alternative compliance payment instead of the average tier 2 rec price from the previous year's RPS report. Our primary concern or thought process in setting the price cap for green power is striking the balance between allowing enough room in the cap to permit green offers to be available while also preventing unfair profits. And we think staff's updated recommendation strikes that balance.
Okay, any questions for OPC? Commissioner Lynn?
Sure. Good morning. So why isn't the utilities approach the better option?
Actually, it's not. I think we agree that it's also a potentially reasonable approach. Last year, in these proceedings, we had advocated for a forward-looking process to set the price guidelines for green power. And in order number 91464, the Commission had adopted the staff's recommendation from last year to use the trailing 12-month average SOS rate, I think expressing some concern that there were going to be components of the SOS price that were unknown. So in our comments, we had discussed how that is what we advocated for. We think a forward-looking process might more accurately reflect the market price for green power, but there haven't been any green product offers over the last year that would have inform a different approach. So that's why we are supporting staff's recommendation and don't necessarily feel that the utilities recommendation is unreasonable.
Okay. So OPC also has an environmental component to your responsibilities as a ratepayer advocate. Does it concern People's Council that we have no environmental activity from our competitive suppliers? We don't even have any competitive suppliers here. Right? Do you see this as being something we need to look at or be concerned about, or is this the better approach from a consumer protection perspective?
I think, as I sit here today, it's hard to say definitively, but I think in, an ideal situation, those customers who would want to have green offers available to them, customers who would want to choose green product offers, we would want those offers to be available to them. But yeah, it's hard to say without the retail suppliers being around. It's certainly a question that I can take back on whether this is, we need to think more deeply about a different approach. But
Do you think we should be interested in incenting them to participate more? I mean, there's a lot going on in SB1 that also that suppliers don't like, and that's part of the reason why they're not participating. And it's not easy to just say put all of that aside, but is this an area where what we're offering from a price perspective, from People's Council's perspective, is this something that you think a supplier would look at and say, well, if everything else was okay, we could work with this?
I guess my answer today is I'm not totally sure. I think you know, as Mr. Mosier explained, the statute does provide an avenue for suppliers to come in and ask for a price that is above the cap that the commission is going to set here today, and that the commission set last year, and we just haven't seen them come in and request a higher price. So it's hard to say with there not having been much activity here over the past year to help inform how the process should be adjusted. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you for your answers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, anybody else? Alrighty. So, does Exelon have anything to want to add to the conversation? Actually,
morning.
I mean, yeah, you might as well sit down. So, got plenty of room. So.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Catherine Moriarty on behalf of the Exelon Utilities. We support staff's proffered calculation in this proceeding. We support using the trailing 12-month SOS rate as the baseline to calculate the green price cap. We actually never really took a position on how to calculate the adder. So, and I'm here for questions.
Okay. Questions for Commissioner Sussman?
Okay, so just to be clear, you're comfortable with us approving the staff approach that OPC also supports?
Yes, in this proceeding here today.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Linton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. And so, one of the reasons why you proposed an alternative solution is because you suggested that it was more consumer friendly or easier for consumers to understand. If you support the staff approach, does that also meet that same requirement?
Well, if staff's approach is able to be tracked, like the SOS trailing, 12-month trailing price, or if the price to compare, consumers have access to that, and it was on the websites, and that's what we meant by. That's why we wanted to recommend using that type of calculation, because there's multiple different sources for consumers to verify how that price is determined.
Okay, so we would need to couple this with some additional education through either the commission's website or whatever, if there's suppliers, with other suppliers doing the same thing, they would have to also make sure consumers, through education, understood what they were looking at.
Right. That's one of the reasons why we supported
That was,
using that calculation. Yes,
okay.
it was
thank you.
transparent, and you were able to verify those numbers from multiple sources.
All right, thank you. That was all I had.
Anybody else? Yeah. Oh, Commissioner Barbe.
Yeah, so you support the staff recommendation, but you prefer price to compare, or am I mishearing what
Oh,
you're...
so no, our number one proposal is to use the trailing 12-month
Okay.
SOS average. But if you would like to, use a forward-looking method in the future to calculate this green product price cap, we think that, using the price compare is a reasonable alternative due to the fact that consumers can educate themselves, and you can figure out what goes into that price calculation from various sources.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else? I guess with that, we're adjourned. So. All right.
Thank you.